What's up, everybody? Renfail here, and we are back again with the continuation of our Beginner's Guide series to Rogue Trader, the Warhammer 40K game by Owlcat Games. Now, I've been learning the lore for Warhammer since I started playing the beta. I didn't know anything about Warhammer prior to playing this game. I did play Owlcat's two previous titles, which were the Pathfinder games, and they were exceptional games, which is why I wanted to try this game. And so far, it's been a pretty amazing ride, and I am super excited for this game to go live on December 7th. We will be playing a full playthrough over the holidays, live streams, guides, you name it. The exact same thing we did for Baldur's Gate, all the other games we played over the years. So if you've been following along with the Baldur's Gate 3 stuff, you're going to love this. Today we're going to be diving into the Homeworlds, which is part of the character creation process, and this is sort of like the backstory for the characters a little bit, where they're from, but it's more than just the roleplay aspect of this, because there are a bunch of attribute modifiers, features, and talents that are tied to each one of these homeworlds, which impact the final result of your character. We're also going to be covering the origin and triumphs and so on and so forth as we get deeper into the character creation process. Doing all the beta content right now, which is subject to change, of course, and then once the game goes live, we'll be covering it in the live version as well. So without further ado, let's dive into Homeworlds in the Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader beta. If you're new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Check out all the other playlists. We do play a lot of different games on the channel, do a lot of different things. There's a Discord, there are member videos, and also we're multi-streaming on Twitch these days as well, so you can check us out there if you prefer. Alright, so let's start off with Death World. It says here that upon Death Worlds, the plants, beasts, and sometimes even the environment itself takes aggressive and destructive forms inimical to human life, which is kind of scary to think about. The thing I like about the Homeworld descriptions is each one of these has a pretty in-depth roleplay description, but then they get into the features. So in this case, if you come from a death world, you have survival instinct, which means that once per combat, when the wounds of a death world character drop below 30%, they gain a 20% temporary wounds to their maximum wounds. They also gain plus 20% to their dodge and armor when they have at least one temporary wound from any source. You get a plus 5 to strength, plus 5 to agility, plus 5 to toughness, but a minus 5 to fellowship and a minus 5 to intelligence. And this is so awesome that we actually have games that do pros and cons, because I know, like modern day D&D, they got rid of the pros and cons system, which a lot of people dislike, including myself, so I really appreciate when there is a pro and con thing. It says here the following features will be available for upgrade during leveling up, and that's the talents. So if you are from a death world, you can be a brutal hunter, which gives you a 15% critical hit chance against targets with bleeding or with less than 50% of their max wounds. You get trusty weapons, plus 10 to critical hits for chance anyway, for axes, hammers, and laze weapons. The Wounded Beast, which every injury increases your Death World's character's agility and willpower by 5%, and every trauma counts as 3 injuries. In other words, it's useful to be hurt all the time with the Death World character. They also gain an additional deflection against flame and toxic damage and bleeding effects equal to their, it says here, TOU bonus, which is the toughness bonus. And apart from that, tenacity. Once per combat, when they suffer stun, blinded, or immobilized conditions, they ignore it and instead gain a 20% max temporary wounds, to their maximum wounds. Very unique. I would imagine this is going to be best for melee characters if you want to get up in the thick of it and constantly be taking damage from other sources, but it's kind of an interesting thing to think about. Moving on to the Voidborn, it says here, these are humans birthed in the belly of a void vessel or aboard an ancient orbital satellite, which, given how creepy the void is, I wonder how much effect this has on their mental stabilities. Those who live their lives in void ships become injured to some extent in the reality-altering process and living in lower zero-gravity environments, and in many cases their features are drawn, their skin is pallid, and they may have minor deformities or an oddness of speech, gait, or general appearance. Now it says here, because this is beta, this is missing content with the full version available in the release version, so currently it only shows a plus 5 willpower and plus 5 intelligence with a minus 5 to strength, but we don't see any talents or anything else. So this is going to be one of those ones where we're going to come back at live once the game is launched, and we will do the full list for the launch version. Similarly, the Hive world is missing a bunch of features, but it says here, their population is so dense that frequently great swaths of the surface of the world are covered with gargantuan cities of towering spires that pierce the atmosphere. That sounds really cool. Hive worlds are vital to the welfare of the Imperium and are the beating heart of its economy and war machine because they produce munitions for the armies in vast manufactories, mine valuable minerals, and refine fuel for the fleet. And it says here, innumerable regiments of the Astra Militarum are raised from their massive populations as well. So in other words, these are just places with massive amounts of people where they just draw fodder for the front lines. Kind of terrifying if you really think about it. This one looks like it's missing a bunch of stuff as well. Forge World, subskin implants. Okay. You get subskin armor, which gives you a +5, +2 times your toughness bonus % to your armor. +5 intelligence, +5 toughness, -5 fellowship. So I guess we'll be seeing what they add to this later on. The Forge World analytic implants here. It says Forge Worlds are the domain of the Adeptus Mechanicus, given over to the demands of vast macro industries. Each is blessed with a higher level of technology than the wider Imperium as a whole, and many arcane wonders are commonplace in these labyrinths of ferrocrete and steel. At the direction of the Magi of the Cult Mechanicus, the bulk of a Forge World's population is utilized as a labor force, whilst the few fortunate may be inducted into the ranks of the Adeptus Mechanicus itself. Now, I'm not even familiar with the Adeptus Mechanicus because I'm not that deep into the lore of Warhammer, so I'm going to need to learn more. Looks like they get analytics systems, which gives them a 10+ intelligence % bonus to their critical hit chance. So I'm assuming this is going to be something that might be good for like psychers. Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. And it looks like, if I had to guess, because these are all Forge World, that Forge World description is going to be good for all 3 of the Forge World locations. Locomotion implants. Forge World characters gain agility bonus 2, movement points, and 2 times agility bonus to dodge. That's probably going to be good for like melee characters, to be honest with you. Or if you want to be super dodgy with your marksman. Then we get into the Imperial World Feudal. It says an Imperial World is one of a million planets united by a belief in the immortal God Emperor, which my character, by the way, is going to be one of those who doesn't necessarily believe all of that stuff, but you have to keep it secret, otherwise you'll be branded a heretic. Hailing from hyper-technological societies to grimy feudal populations, the inhabitants of countless worlds offer fealty and devotion to the masters of humanity and the imperial creed taught by his servants. Most imperial worlds are ruled by a planetary governor and support a thriving ruling class of some type, usually known as a nobility. +5 strength, +5 weapons skill. And it doesn't look like there's any difference between the description here, because they haven't fleshed these out yet, but this was going to be a military tradition. Which, given that my current character that I'm playing through is a marksman, this might be what a marksman would go with, given that you get a ballistic skill right out of the gate and a military background. But until they release the full version of this into the wild, we don't know exactly what the stats are going to look like. But it looks like here, if you go through, if you're playing the beta right now, the Death World is the one that's the most fleshed out. I think it's the only one that's all the way fleshed out. So they give you a look at what all of these are going to look like long term, and of course the rest of this is coming with the launch of the game on December 7th. So there's obviously more to see here as they continue to get this fleshed out for the launch, which is very close now. We're just a few short weeks away. So if all of this sounds fun to you, you can pre-order and get into the beta now if you'd like to come play. Obviously, a lot of this stuff is missing, but I can promise you that even though some of this is missing, the gameplay is super fun. And there's a ton of lore information in the game, in the codex that they have, which has helped me, at the very least, get up to speed on all things Warhammer, because I knew nothing about Warhammer coming into this. The rest of it's just sort of like tabletop rules, which I'm pretty familiar with in the first place, and they translate pretty seamlessly across different types of games. So it's been a great ride so far. I cannot wait to play this out, the full launch when it comes out here in a few weeks. Hopefully you're along for the ride, and if you are, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Check out all the other playlists. We're multi-streaming on Twitch, as I mentioned earlier. You can also find out all sorts of playlists here on YouTube. We stream every single night from 8 p.m. Central onwards, and we do a lot of early morning streams as well, although those aren't necessarily scheduled. So hopefully we'll see you in one of those. Until then, stay safe and happy gaming.